I never thought I'd miss something as ordinary as walking up the stairs without grabbing the railing. But a couple of years ago, that changed. It didn't happen all at once. No big fall, no dramatic injury, just a slow, steady feeling that my legs weren't as strong as they used to be. I'd get up from my favorite chair and feel a wobble. I'd walk to the kitchen and notice my knees were stiff, my calves a little shaky. And that's when I knew it was time to do something before it got worse. Now, I didn't rush out and buy some fancy machine or sign up for an intense workout class. I started with something simpler, something I already enjoyed, food. I spoke to my doctor, did a little reading, and began adding specific foods to my meals. And within a few weeks, I could feel the difference. My legs felt sturdier, I had more confidence walking outside, and even my balance improved. That's why I'm sharing this with you today. These 5 foods made a real impact on my life, and I hope they could do the same for you or someone you love. Stick with me through the video, and if you tried any of these, I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on aging well. We're just getting started. 5. Low-fat milk or calcium-rich plant-based milk. It was a quiet morning when Mary, now 74, poured herself a warm cup of almond milk and sat by the window. She used to start her day with coffee, strong and black, but ever since her doctor told her bone density was dropping, she made a switch. Calcium, he had said, tapping her chart. You need more of it, especially at your age. Mary remembered scoffing a little. I've lived this long without fussing over bones, she muttered back then. But that was before her best friend, Ellen, broke her hip after slipping on her kitchen floor. One fall, one fracture, and suddenly Ellen needed a walker, physical therapy, and help getting out of bed. Mary watched her lose her independence little by little, and it scared her more than she expected. That's when she started looking at her habits. The first change? Milk. Not the creamy, full-fat version she grew up with, but something gentler, easier to digest, and packed with what her bones needed: calcium and vitamin D. She couldn't tolerate regular milk much anymore. Her stomach would complain for hours, so she turned to almond and soy milk. Surprisingly, she didn't mind the taste. She even started heating it up in the evenings with a pinch of cinnamon, almost like a bedtime treat. I never thought I'd become one of those people who sips warm almond milk before bed. She chuckled to herself. But here I am, and it helped. Her next scan showed a small improvement in her bone mass, just enough to reassure her she was on the right path. The thing is, we don't think about our bones until they become a problem. They're quiet, solid, reliable, until the day they crack. And as we get older, they do become more fragile. It's not just about drinking milk like we were told as kids. It's about what kind of milk and when. Mary learned that drinking it in the morning helps her start the day with a dose of strength. Drinking it at night? That helped her sleep better, knowing she was taking care of herself in a simple, gentle way. Sometimes she uses oat milk when she wants something creamier, or blends her almond milk into a smoothie with bananas and spinach. It's not a drastic change, just a mindful one. Over time, it became a quiet ritual, something comforting, something grounding. And she's not alone. More and more of her friends are doing the same. Some still drink low-fat cow's milk. Others choose calcium-fortified plant milks. The point isn't which type, it's that they're doing something. They're choosing to protect their bones before a fall forces them to. Mary says there's a strange kind of power in a small glass of milk. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's one of the reasons I'm still walking without a cane. So if you're reading this with a cup of coffee in your hand, maybe think about switching it up tomorrow. Your bones might just thank you. Quietly, of course, like they always do. 4. Bananas. Every morning, Harold sits on the back porch of his home in South Carolina with a small bowl in his hands. One sliced ripe banana, a spoonful of yogurt, and a sprinkle of oats. The ritual is simple, quiet, and deliberate. I used to think breakfast was just coffee and toast. He laughs. but that banana changed the way my legs feel. Harold is 78 now. He's always been active, mowing his own lawn, walking his dog, sometimes helping his neighbor lift a few boxes when she's moving things around the garage. But about a year ago, something started bothering him. Cramps in his calves that woke him up in the middle of the night, sharp and sudden, like someone had twisted a rope inside his leg. At first, he blamed it on age. "It's just part of getting old," he muttered. But then the cramps got worse, even happening during his afternoon walks. His daughter, who works as a nurse, gently suggested he might not be getting enough potassium. "You'd be surprised," she said. "A lot of older adults are low in it without knowing." That's when bananas entered his life, not as an occasional snack, but as a daily partner. Harold didn't expect much, but within a couple of weeks, he noticed something. Fewer cramps, easier movement, and even a bit more energy when going up the stairs. "I thought it was just coincidence," he says, "but then I missed a few days and the cramps came back. Now it's non-negotiable. One ripe banana every morning. The potassium in it helps his muscles function better, especially the ones in his legs. And since bananas are gentle on the stomach, he doesn't worry about bloating or discomfort like with some other foods. Some mornings, I mash it into oatmeal. Other days, I slice it into my yogurt. Simple stuff, but makes a difference." Harold also learned that bananas don't just help with cramps. They're good for blood pressure too. "My numbers have always been a little on the high side," he admits. Nothing too serious, but enough for the doctor to frown. Since making bananas part of his daily breakfast, things have evened out a bit. "Still got to watch the salt," he adds with a grin, "but every little bit helps." And it's not just Harold. At his church, after Sunday service, he and a few friends sit around talking about small changes they've made. Mary swears by her morning walk. Joe stopped adding sugar to his coffee. And Harold? He talks about bananas. "Not the green ones," he warns. "Too starchy. You want them ripe. A little soft, a few spots. That's when they're sweetest and easiest on your belly." He even keeps a few bananas in the freezer now. When they get too ripe, he peels them, slices them, and stores them for smoothies. Frozen banana, a little peanut butter, and milk, he says, tastes like dessert, but it's good for you. Harold says one of the best parts of being older is realizing that small things matter more than we think. A short walk, a good night's sleep, and apparently a ripe banana. "Back when I was younger," he reflects, "I thought staying strong meant lifting weights or running miles. But now, it means being able to stand up without wobbling. It means walking to the mailbox without pain. It means sleeping through the night without waking up to stretch my legs." And he credits the banana for being part of that. It's not a magic cure. It's not a fancy supplement. It's just fruit. Soft, sweet, reliable. Sometimes when his grandkids visit, he shows them how to slice a banana with a butter knife, carefully, evenly. "They laugh at me," he says, "but I tell them, one day, when you're 78 and your legs cramp in the middle of the night, you'll remember old grandpa and his banana bowl." So, if you're waking up with sore legs or feeling like your muscles just aren't what they used to be, maybe start simple. Maybe start with something soft, yellow, and easy to peel, just like Harold did. 3. Salmon. When Grace turned 75, she gave herself a birthday gift, a weekly dinner night with her sister, Edna. "We started calling it Fish Friday," she chuckles, stirring a pan on the stove. "Mostly because we needed a reason to get together, but also because our doctor kept reminding us to eat more fish, especially salmon." Grace had never been much of a cook, at least not since her husband passed. Meals were often simple. Toast, soup from a can, maybe scrambled eggs. But her knees had started bothering her more than usual, and walking to the local library became a challenge. "The joints felt stiff, and my legs just didn't move the way they used to," she admits. One afternoon, while waiting for her prescription refill, she struck up a conversation with a retired physical therapist in the waiting room. You need more anti-inflammatory food, the woman said kindly. Start with salmon, twice a week. It does wonders for the joints, and it's great for your muscles. Grace was skeptical at first. Fish seemed fussy. She imagined filleting bones of fishy smell, but Edna reassured her. Buy the fillets, Edna said. Pre-cleaned, skin off. Pop them in the oven with lemon and herbs. It's easier than making a sandwich. So that Friday they did. 2 fillets of salmon, a drizzle of olive oil, a handful of green beans, and roasted sweet potatoes. Grace couldn't believe how tasty and satisfying it was, and how easy. But what really surprised her came 3 weeks later. I didn't notice at first, she says, but I was standing longer without discomfort. My legs didn't feel as weak when I got up from the chair. And my knees, they were quieter, if that makes sense. Not as achy. She told her doctor the next checkup, and he smiled. That salmon is doing its job, he said. Omega-3 fatty acids help reduce inflammation in your joints. They keep things moving smoothly. And the high-quality protein, that's helping your leg muscles stay strong. Grace hadn't thought about muscle loss before, but once she looked it up, it made sense. As we get older, we lose muscle, especially in our legs. That's what makes climbing stairs harder or getting out of bed feel like a chore. Now, salmon is on the menu twice, sometimes 3 times a week. She grills it in summer, bakes it in winter, and even learned to make a salmon salad with Greek yogurt and herbs for lunch. I used to think it was fancy food, she says, but now it's just part of staying on my feet. She's also shared the habit with her neighbor, Carl, who's in his 80s and recently started having trouble with balance. I brought him a portion one day, and now he calls me his salmon dealer, she laughs. What Grace loves most is how gentle salmon is on the system. I don't have to chew forever. It's soft, easy to digest, and doesn't upset my stomach like red meat sometimes does. She's noticed other things too. My fingers don't swell like they used to, and my ankles feel less stiff in the mornings. It's not just the legs that benefit. Grace believes her whole body feels a bit more alive since she started this new routine. And her sister Edna? She swears it's helped her hands feel steadier while knitting. Could be coincidence, Edna winks, but I'll take it. They've made it a little event now. Light candles, play soft music, try different salmon recipes. Sometimes it's honey garlic glazed. Other times it's just salt, pepper, and lemon zest. They even tried salmon tacos one night. It's not just about the fish, Grace says. It's about feeling like you're doing something good for yourself. Something that helps you move, live, and stay independent. When her grandchildren visit, she always offers them a bite. One of these days, she tells them, your legs might not feel so spry, but you'll remember Grandma's salmon and know how to take care of yourself. For Grace, salmon isn't just a meal. It's a quiet act of care. A promise to herself to keep walking, keep gardening, and keep dancing with her memories. The body listens, she says softly. You just have to give it the right food. 2. Spinach. Every Saturday morning, Walter made his way to the local farmer's market. He didn't rush, his steps were slower these days, but he liked the fresh air, the chatter, and most of all, the vegetables. One stall in particular always caught his eye. Big bundles of dark green spinach, still crisp with morning dew. Back again, Walter, the vendor smiled. Wouldn't miss it, Walter replied, selecting a bunch and handing over a few bills. Doctor says this stuff is gold for my legs. He wasn't joking. Just a year ago, Walter struggled with numbness in his feet and a strange heaviness in his calves. It felt like walking through wet cement, he recalled. I kept thinking maybe it was just age catching up, but deep down I knew something needed to change. His daughter, Rachel, had started reading more about senior nutrition after seeing her dad struggle. One night, she brought him a big bowl of warm spinach soup with a drizzle of olive oil. Try this, she said. It's packed with magnesium, calcium, and vitamin K. really important for your bones and blood flow. Walter raised an eyebrow. Spinach? Like Popeye? She laughed. Not exactly, but it helps your legs stay strong. He liked the taste, earthy, rich, with a slight sweetness from the sautéed onions. And over the next few weeks, it became part of his regular meals. Sometimes in soups, other times lightly sautéed with garlic and olive oil, or even tossed raw into salads. At first, he didn't expect much, but after a month, Walter noticed a change. My feet weren't going numb as often. I could stand longer at the sink, wash the dishes without needing to sit down after. And that cement feeling? It started to ease up. What Walter didn't know at the time was that spinach is a powerhouse for circulation. Magnesium helps the muscles relax properly, calcium supports bone structure, and vitamin K plays a crucial role in bone metabolism. On top of that, spinach helps keep the blood vessels flexible, which improves blood flow, especially to the lower extremities. Rachel explained it one afternoon over tea. It's like giving your legs a little fuel boost, she said. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients to your muscles. That's what helps you move easier. Walter grinned. So spinach is basically leg food. Exactly, she nodded. Super leg food. It wasn't just the nutrients, either. Spinach was easy on his stomach, didn't spike his blood sugar like some carb-heavy meals, and paired well with ingredients he already liked. Add a little feta, a few cherry tomatoes, and you've got yourself a salad fit for royalty, he liked to say. He started adding spinach to his omelets in the morning, or blending it into green smoothies when Rachel visited. On cooler nights, he made simple stews with beans and spinach. Comforting, nutritious, and easy to prepare. What really sold him was the way it made him feel. Lighter on his feet, steadier as he walked the garden path, less cramping when he stretched his legs in bed. One afternoon, while chatting with friends at the senior center, someone complained about stiff legs. Walter leaned in. "You need to eat more spinach," he said. "I'm not saying it'll fix everything overnight, but it sure gives your legs a fighting chance." They laughed, but a few weeks later, one of them told him, "You were right. My circulation's better. I don't feel as stiff in the mornings." Walter didn't need any convincing after that. Spinach had become part of his rhythm, just like brushing his teeth or calling his granddaughter every Sunday. And he never forgot the olive oil. "Don't skip that part," he told anyone who'd listen. "Helps your body absorb the good stuff." Now, every time he prepares a bowl of spinach, whether steamed, sautéed, or raw, he smiles. "Not bad for a leaf," he says to himself. "Not bad at all. It's more than a vegetable on his plate." For Walter, spinach represents small choices that make a big difference. It's proof that even in your 70s or 80s, you can take control of your body, your health, and how you move through the world. People think growing old means giving up your strength. Walter says, but sometimes it just means changing your menu. 1 eggs. Every morning without fail, Margaret would shuffle into her kitchen wearing her favorite robe, a soft pink one her granddaughter gave her years ago. The sun peeked through the lace curtains, warming the tiled floor as she reached for her trusty frying pan. 2 eggs, she murmured to herself, cracking them neatly into a bowl, just like she'd done for decades. Not scrambled today. She liked them sunny side up on Thursdays. Back when she was younger, Margaret didn't think much about food beyond taste and tradition. Her husband loved bacon and biscuits, and Sunday breakfasts were a family affair. But as the years passed, and especially after her 75th birthday, she started noticing changes. Her legs didn't feel as steady, and getting up from the couch took more effort. "It's like my strength was slowly slipping away," she told her doctor during a routine checkup. That's when Dr. Ellis, a kind-eyed man about the age of her youngest son, talked to her about muscle loss in older adults. "It's called sarcopenia," he said, "and it's more common than you'd think. But you can do something about it. Start with more protein, especially in the morning. Eggs are your friend. Margaret chuckled. Eggs? That's it? How about a dozen in the fridge right now? Even better, he smiled. They're full of high-quality protein and something called leucine that helps build and repair muscle tissue, especially in your legs. It sounded almost too simple, but she figured it couldn't hurt. From that day forward, her breakfast routine became a sacred little ritual. 2 whole eggs, lightly cooked with a pinch of pepper, sometimes a sprinkle of chives from her windowsill garden. Over time, Margaret started to notice small but encouraging changes. The ache in her thighs after her morning walk became less noticeable. She could carry a laundry basket upstairs without pausing halfway. Even getting up from her favorite recliner took less effort. She read more about it, too. Whole eggs, she learned, weren't just about protein. They carried essential vitamins like D and B12, key for nerve function and energy metabolism. No wonder I feel more alive by 9 a.m., she joked to her neighbor, George, who'd started joining her for breakfast once a week. What about cholesterol? George asked one morning, eyeing the golden yolks on his plate. Margaret smiled. I asked the doctor the same thing. Turns out, for most older adults, eating 1 to 2 eggs a day is perfectly fine. The nutrients far outweigh the old myths. They experimented together. Boiled eggs on toast, poached eggs over sautéed spinach, even egg salad sandwiches with a bit of mustard and dill. It's like eating your way back to strength, George said one day, tapping his thigh. Feel that? That's solid muscle coming back. What made eggs so easy to love was their simplicity. They didn't require fancy tools or complicated recipes. Margaret could whip up a satisfying meal in under 10 minutes. And best of all, they fit into any time of day. Some days, she had one hard-boiled in the afternoon with a sprinkle of salt and paprika. Other days, she'd add a poached egg on top of her evening salad for a touch of warmth and richness. Even her daughter noticed. Mom, your legs look stronger, she said one weekend as Margaret moved around the kitchen without using the counter for support. They feel stronger, Margaret replied. And it's not just the eggs, but they're a big part of it. Funny how something so small can give you so much. Now, at 81, Margaret still eats her 2 eggs almost every morning. She's not training for marathons or lifting weights at the gym, but she's steady, confident, and independent. And for her, that's more than enough. She often tells her friends at the community center, if you want to keep moving, you have to keep feeding your legs the right stuff. Eggs are like little miracle packages. Don't overlook them. At the end of the day, Margaret's story isn't about trendy diets or overnight fixes. It's about listening to your body, embracing simple changes, and finding joy in routines that nourish not just your muscles, but your spirit too. And every time she cracks that first egg into the pan, she's reminded, strength starts small, but it adds up. One bite, one step, one day at a time.